Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg to be seen. It walks into a room, and everything shifts, not because it demanded respect, but because its presence left no room for anything else. You've seen it before. The one who speaks the least, but controls the tone. The one who doesn't react, but everyone reacts to. The one who doesn't need attention, because attention orbits around them. That's cold power, subtle, silent, unshakable. And in this world, the loudest voice is often the weakest. Because noise is compensation. But stillness is strategy. In this video, you'll learn how to dominate. Without volume, without force, without words. Because when you master silent power, you never need to prove anything again. 1. The illusion of loud power. Most people think power looks like this dash. A loud voice, a strong posture, a sharp command, a visible presence. They think the louder someone is, the more powerful they must be. But that's not power. That's performance, a cover for insecurity. Because here's the truth. Power that's real doesn't need to prove itself. When someone yells, they're not dominating, they're compensating, trying to force presence, because their energy can't hold the room on its own. Look closely next time. The ones who interrupt the most usually fear not being heard. The ones who dominate the conversation usually fear losing relevance. The ones who demand respect usually know they don't have it. That's loud power. It pushes, it forces, it performs. But cold power, it doesn't push, it pulls, it doesn't perform, it radiates. The person who walks into the room and says nothing, but everyone adjusts. That's power. The person who holds a pause longer than others can handle. That's power. The person who's unaffected by provocation, who doesn't react, who doesn't need to speak just to fill silence. That's not absence. That's command. Because the strongest force isn't the one that shouts the loudest. It's the one that creates tension without speaking. Silence creates tension. Stillness creates tension. And tension, when controlled, creates gravity. The kind of gravity that pulls people into your frame without you ever lifting a finger. And once you control the frame, you control the outcome. So if you've been taught to speak louder, move faster, take up space, stop. That's not dominance. That's desperation. Power doesn't chase attention. It commands it. And now, you'll learn how. 2. What cold power really looks like. Cold power isn't about being distant. It's about being undisturbed. It's not passive. It's controlled, measured, precise. It doesn't flare up. It doesn't overcompensate. It doesn't need to chase, correct, or explain. It holds. And it waits. The person who embodies cold power walks into a room and doesn't adjust to anyone. They don't try to please. They don't mirror energy. They set the tone, while others rush to fill silence. They remain still, while others explain themselves. They let ambiguity speak louder, while others try to be liked. They remain centered, uninterested in approval. 1. They don't react, they observe. Cold power doesn't play emotional ping-pong. You say something provocative, they don't flinch. You push dash, they don't push back. They let the pressure build until you expose yourself. Silence becomes their interrogation. 2. They speak less, but every word hits. Cold power doesn't ramble. They speak slow, clear, low tone, no fillers, no rush, because they understand one truth. The less you say, the more weight each word carries. And in a world full of noise, a calm voice cuts deeper than a loud one. 3. They control the tempo. They don't let others set the pace. In conversation, in response time, in energy, they slow things down. They create space. And in that space, they control the outcome, because whoever controls the tempo controls the tension, and whoever controls the tension controls the power. 4. They are comfortable being misunderstood. Cold power never rushes to correct perception. If you misread them, that's your problem. They don't defend their reputation. They don't over-clarify their intentions. They let doubt sit. They let you wonder. Because in uncertainty, you reveal more than they ever do. 5. They reveal nothing until it's time. Their presence is felt, but their thoughts are unknown. You think you understand them until you realize you don't. Because cold power is not about hiding. It's about strategic exposure. They reveal only what moves the needle. Everything else stays behind the mask. This is what real power looks like. Not loud, not reactive, not desperate to be seen, just present, just still, just inevitable. And when you carry yourself this way, you don't have to demand respect. You become the reason the room gets quiet. 3. The psychology of unspoken dominance. People fear what they can't read, what they can't predict, what they can't label. That's why cold power works. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't raise its voice. It just stays still and lets the mind of others do the rest. Because the human brain hates a void. When something is unclear, the mind rushes to fill the gap. With projection, with fear, with insecurity. 1. Ambiguity creates tension. When you're silent, they don't know what you're thinking, so they assume, they guess, they overanalyze, and the more space you give them to project, the more they reveal themselves. You say nothing, they start explaining everything. You barely react. They begin justifying things you never asked about. That's not coincidence. That's psychological tension, and you control it. 2. Stillness triggers insecurity. Most people are addicted to validation. They talk to be affirmed. They perform to be liked. They react to be acknowledged. When you don't give them that, they panic. Did I say something wrong? Are they judging me? Do they not respect me? Suddenly, they're no longer thinking about you. They're thinking about how you see them, and that shift puts you in control. 3. Lack of reaction forces others to reveal themselves. Cold power doesn't argue. It listens. It watches. It lets silence pressurize the room until the other person fills it with confessions, contradictions, or collapse. When you don't flinch, you force others to carry the emotional load. That's dominance without effort. 4. The mystery frame. When people can't figure you out, they either chase clarity or fear what they don't understand. Both reactions give you the upper hand. Because you're no longer just a person, you're now a concept, an unknown. And people respect the unknown, far more than they respect the predictable. That's why cold power often feels like gravity. It pulls attention without trying. It commands space without movement. It destabilizes others without even speaking. True dominance doesn't need a voice, it needs presence, stillness, and the psychological advantage of being the one no one can quite read. When you master that, you don't dominate people, you make them dominate themselves. 4. Tactical strategies to project silent power. You don't need noise to dominate. You need control. Control over your presence, your energy, and your emotional economy. Cold power is built through deliberate actions, or more precisely, through deliberate restraint. Here are 5 cold strategies that project power without saying much at all. 1. Controlled pauses. Silence is a weapon. When used intentionally, it creates discomfort. But that discomfort doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. Pause after a question. Pause before answering. Pause when provoked. Let the air thicken. Let the tension rise. Let them fill the space you've left open. The longer your pause, the louder their anxiety becomes. And when they break the silence first, you've already won. 2. Minimal expression, maximum impact. The more expressive you are, the more readable you become. The more readable, the less power you hold. So do less. No sudden movements, no animated reactions, no dramatic shifts. Hold a neutral expression. Observe. Let others exhaust themselves, trying to figure you out. You say more with your absence of reaction than they do with their entire monologue. 3. Delayed responses. Power doesn't rush. Power lets time work for it. Whether in text, email, or real-time conversation, wait. Let them sit with uncertainty. Let them feel the gap. Let them doubt their position. Respond only when your energy is composed. And when you do, be precise, short, unapologetic. They'll remember the delay far more than the words you used. 4. Lower your tone, slow your pace. You don't need to speak louder. You need to speak deeper, calmer, slower. This forces others to lean in, to stop, to listen. Fast speech implies anxiety. Slow speech implies control. And the one who controls the tempo, controls the frame. Never match their energy. Make them match yours. 5. Intentional eye contact. Not aggressive, not soft, just still. Hold eye contact when they speak, not to intimidate, but to observe, to signal presence, to show that nothing is slipping past you. Break eye contact slowly, not in fear, but in disinterest. You send a message without words. I see everything, and I owe you nothing. Each of these tactics is subtle, but the effect undeniable. People remember how you made them feel, not because you impressed them, but because your calmness disarmed them. That's silent power. You don't control the room by force. You control it by forcing others to adapt to your stillness. No drama, no chase. No chaos, just gravity. 5. How to apply cold power in real situations. Theory is useless if it doesn't survive the real world. Cold power isn't just a mindset. It's a behavioral advantage in any interaction when applied with precision. Here's how you use it where it matters most. 1. Personal confrontation. Someone tries to provoke you. Insult, accusation, emotional bait. The average person responds instantly, defends, justifies, reacts. But you stay still, no facial change, no interruption, just observation. You respond after the tension peaks. Short, calm, controlled. And because you didn't escalate, they look emotional. You look composed. That's not silence, that's dominance. 2. Dating and emotional dynamics. In dating, neediness is loud, desire is obvious, and power is lost when you're too available. Cold power reframes everything. You don't rush to reply. You don't over-explain. You don't try to impress. Your energy says, I choose, I don't chase. You become the frame dash, the standard they calibrate to, and the less they know where they stand with you, the harder they try to find out. 3. In social groups. Every group has a center of gravity. Most fight for it with volume and presence. You take the opposite path. You speak less, but what you say is weighted. You don't interrupt. But when you do speak, everyone resets. You don't compete for attention. You create a space where your presence is felt before your voice is heard. They can feel the shift, even before you open your mouth. 4. In negotiation or leadership. Silence after a demand is strategic. They give an offer. You wait. Let them sweat. Let the silence stretch. Don't blink first. Don't rescue their discomfort. Eventually, they break the silence, often with a better offer. In leadership, you don't motivate with hype. You lead by clarity. By not reacting, by letting your stillness set the psychological tone for the room. That's how power becomes unspoken law. Cold power isn't about being emotionless. It's about being unshakable. And when you become the one, no one can read, rush, or rattle. You no longer need to dominate the space. You become the space. Final CTA. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control, because real power doesn't ask to be seen. It simply is. You don't need to raise your voice to shift the atmosphere. You don't need to chase respect to receive it. You move differently. You respond slowly. You say less dash. But every word lands like a strike, because what you withhold has more weight than what others reveal. And that's the shift. From reacting to commanding, from being readable to being untouchable. So here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, practice presence without performance. Let silence be your armor. Let stillness be your signal. And watch how people begin to adjust to your energy without you lifting a finger. But this is only one layer, because even in silence, you may still be playing a role they've scripted for you. In the next video, we reveal how your identity was shaped. Not by who you are, but by who they needed you to be. It's called identity manipulation, how they program who you think you are. If you don't question the story you've been living, you'll keep playing a part in someone else's game.